Hello, my name's Ken Schmidt, and I'm here to share my opinion on a variety of different topics, whether they're wanted or not. Probably mostly not, but I'm going to do it anyway. Uh, why? I just felt like seems to be the thing, I haven't been working for a number of years. Uh, an electrical engineer by trade, but I haven't been practicing for about 3.5 years now. Not anything illegal, just health problems, mental and physical. Stuff that I'll talk about in other videos. I'll try to cover. Um, I have some experiences that I think could help other people through their struggles, like addiction, mental health, um, people who suffer from like chronic pain or something. I'm going to try and cover all of that. I'll do more than I probably should on politics just because it's been a passion of mine since I was a child and it's easy. There's always something going on in the world of politics, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's something scandalous. I focus mostly on Canadian politics, but I may dabble in US politics as well. But since I'm in Canada, in British Columbia, rootin' tootin' Newton, um, obviously I'm going to be more concerned about what's going on in my own backyard. So I'll be talking more about municipal, provincial, and federal politics in Canada. But I'll also cover a bunch of other stuff, some adventure stuff, just some observational stuff. I intend to have a couple of different series, I guess you would say. Um, one that will be kind of a longer format will be once it's like a diatribe something. So it'll just be like, 20-25 minutes on a topic, my opinion, etc. But I think most of them will be shorter, so stuff like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, that kind of thing, depending on the topic. Sometimes when I get talking, it's hard to stop unless there's somebody there to stop me. So a lot of times that can be detrimental. Um, there was a funny anecdote. I actually received in an interview once. I told the panel there was 4 people interviewing me, and I told them, I said, if you're not getting what you want from me, please let me know, and I'll try to address exactly what it is you're looking for. And if you find that I'm going too much into a topic, just let me know. And these people gave me zero feedback. It was like you were talking to a freaking stone wall. There was no, like this or nothing. There was no indication. And in fact, it seemed like they were like hanging on to words, like they wanted more. And so I thought it was really weird. And so I wound it down. And then it turns out when I contact them later to do a follow up, this was one of the complaints they has like, yeah, you tend to prattle. Like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you tend to offer more information than what was required. You don't seem to know when enough's enough. I'm like, I told you that. Like, you even asked me, like, with that stupid name 3 of your biggest weaknesses crap or whatever that you get nothing from, by the way. People going on interviews that hate that stupid question, you're not wrong. I never ask those stupid questions in interviews unless it's forced by HR because it's on the form that you have to. But even then, I do it under protest, and I kind of give the person a break. And I was like, look, they make us all do this. We've all gone through it. Just pick whatever. I don't care. Um, you know, Asking someone what their biggest weakness is or their biggest strength is doesn't tell you jack squat. You want to know, call their manager, call people they've worked with, call their past clients or something like that, they will tell you what the real weaknesses and strengths are. So, anyway, it was just, you know, you ask me what a weakness is, I give you a weakness. Later on, you ask me a question after I had told you things, and then you tell me I'm proud of it. Whatever. So you kind of see where this is going. I get kind of passionate over the silliest things. And I suspect that it's probably what most of um, my videos will be like. I'll probably get a little bit animated and worked up over the silliest things. But at the time, at least, anyway, to me, they're going to be important and I'm going to have strong feelings about them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be discussing them. So I just kind of, like I say, I want to get my opinion out there and try to touch on things that maybe are either ignored in mainstream, not just mainstream media, but mainstream society as well. Things that maybe people gloss over and don't really consider as being critical or important in their lives or anyone's lives overall. So I would like to talk about a few things like that. Some examples would be, you know, addiction, right? It's as as much progress that's happened over even the last like 10, 20 years, it can still be uh, a very touchy subject to bring up with some people. Some people don't want to talk about it. Some people have their mind set in stone and have a very, very rigid opinion of how they feel about people with addiction, whether it be drugs, alcohol, gambling, sexual relations. It doesn't matter. Addiction is addiction. So I'll explore that from a first-hand experience as well as from, a third-party observer living in a place like Surrey, specifically Newton. You are exposed to a fair share of it. I worked in Wally, which has been cleaned up a lot now, but when I was there years ago, um, it was it was a very, very well-known neighborhood across Canada for drugs, prostitution, and I'm talking out in the open. Um, I used to go on a walk for my every lunch break pretty much when the weather was nice. And it wasn't uncommon to see ladies of the day taking care of clients out in the open in a park. It was just part of life's experience at the time. You don't see that nowadays, but it's the way it was back then. Now they've kind of pushed it. It's not that it's gone. They've just kind of pushed it either further out or further away from the public eye. But it's all still there, and it's sad. Uh, Now, again, like I said, people have very strong feelings and opinions about certain things, and I would just ask that when I do these kinds of videos, I know they're going to be divisive in some sense, that some people will be really hardline this way. They're addicts or junkies, they don't deserve our time, they've made their choices, away with them. The other people on the other side that will be, oh my gosh, we've got to stop the harm. Well, how do you stop the harm? Oh, give them all the drugs. Don't take them away. Don't try to get them into rehab. Just give them all the drugs and let them smoke it anywhere they want. Let them shoot up in a park anywhere they want and leave the needles in the elementary playground. So those are kind of two extremes. I kind of land somewhere in the middle, which I think if you were to press most people, they would be kind of in the middle as well. But I mean, I know myself personally, a lot of people that are on either one side or the other, and a lot lean on this. They're junkies. They made their choice. Whatever happens to them, I don't care. Um, and that's sad. You know, having been an alcoholic, an addict for nearly 30 years, with it being particularly bad in the last 18, 20 years of that. I was definitely on my drinking my way into an early grave, and even now, clean. I haven't had a drink for a long time, since 2017, but I've done damage. Right, my liver has been irreparably damaged. My brain has been damaged. And this is the life that you live now. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not even asking for understanding. I'm just saying this is what the way it is. Everybody makes decisions. People make choices their entire lives. They go left when maybe they should have went right. They went up instead of down. It's you know, it's the way life is. And I made choices that I'm not particularly proud of. And if I could go back and do it all over again, I'd probably think very much differently about how I approach things. But it's the way it is. So no sense crying about it now. But these are the kinds of things I want to talk about. And my personal journey on, you know, fighting to get healthy, fighting to get clean, and get myself off of alcohol once and for all, right? So I plan on doing a rather in-depth series that almost feels like it will fall outside completely everything else that I do here, because it will be a very serious tone, to a degree. I can't go 100% serious, and I can't go for too long. I have to make a joke. It's just my sense of humor. But I also will respect a lot of people that might be watching these videos later on, if things happen to take off. They might be looking at it in a very vulnerable position, and they might not appreciate too much humor or too much silliness. So that series will, like I say, it will have a more serious tone to it, but it'll still be, try to keep it grounded. I don't like ever to get too serious about anything. It's just not worth it. Life's not long enough to be completely obsessed and uber focused on one or two issues. Big problem with today. Another thing I'll probably talk about. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what this is going to be all about. The plan now is to go indefinitely. Whether or not that actually pans out, who knows? Maybe I find that there's absolutely zero uptake on anything I do, in which case, although I will admit that the main focus, the main goal of doing these videos really is, for me, it's to help me like stabilize my mental health, and it's gives me a way to feel included in the community again. When you're not working for whatever reason, maybe you broke a limb, or you're recovering from a surgery, or any number of things. When you're not working, when you're taken away from your social circles, it leaves you feeling very lonely. And the world moves so fast nowadays that people, it's not like the old days. People would come see you, and they would come visit, and they'd bring you a nice thermos of chicken soup or something like that if you're feeling unwell and you haven't been able to work for a couple months, whatever. They would drop in. It's funny, back then, when you had nothing but a landline telephone, people would make an effort to drive out to see you, to make sure you're doing okay, quite regularly. Nowadays, when we have 1,800 different methods of contacting everyone on the planet Earth within nanoseconds, it seems if you disappear from the group, you're as much as gone. Out of sight, out of mind. Nobody pays attention to you. Sure, the odd time you'll get some condolences on the Facebook and Instagrams and all that, but you know, most times people send an emoji, right? Like, okay, great, but it makes them feel good, and you look at it and go, "Oh, that's nice." It's still no human contact, but that's the way the world is now. So you got to roll with it. So for me, not having worked for a few years now, um, I've I started to find myself becoming more and more reclusive as time went on. And I recognize that's not healthy, um, especially since I'm not some uber famous person. So it's easy for them to become reclusive because they have all the money in the world. I don't. I'm the complete opposite of that. Uh, with the last accident I had, I basically I lost everything trying to keep everything, and now I have nothing. So it's kind of like starting over from scratch, only in a worse position this time. Um, but such is life. So part of, like I say, part of making these videos is a bit selfish on my part, I admit, because part of it is simply for me to feel better, a little bit better about myself, give myself a little bit of sense of belonging and inclusion, and in my community again. Now, of course, that's only truly effective if people are actually watching the videos. And I know how hard it is to break into stuff like YouTube. Um, Being an engineer, I don't know if, I think for most people, when they're in a certain position, they're in that position because they're predisposed to certain things. Sorry, it's a little warm in here right now. My pipes froze up again. And so I got the heater crank trying to thaw out the pipes underneath. Um, House trailers, man. But what I think a lot of people, they choose a profession that kind of suits their personality or whatnot. So what I'm getting at is like my thought process and the way I approach things. I'm very analytical, and I research the heck out of everything. It doesn't matter what it is. I'll spend days, weeks, months on stuff that most people would just make a decision like that. But I always feel that I have to make sure I try to encounter or try to anticipate every possible solution that I can reasonably come up with. And so, why I'm saying that is before I started doing all this, I spent about 2 years researching as much as I could about the whole YouTube thing and content creation, how it works, how to target, how to market, all that fun stuff. Um, Finally put, not to brag, but in addition to being an engineer, I also have a bachelor degree in management as well. So finally put that degree into to work here, kind of. But the more I got into it, the more I dove into what truly makes a successful channel on YouTube and all this. It became very discouraging very quickly, and maybe not the way you think, um, or maybe it is. I don't know. It turns out, and this was very disappointing. It was like ripping the curtain back and seeing, what's this little guy doing back here? What happened to the great wonderful Oz? So what I started to realize is that like a good number of YouTubers, even some of my personal favorites that I thought and that were built up to appear 100% organic, grassroots. This person just poof out of nowhere. Here they are, and then they became huge and they're successful out of nothing. And then you realize that that's not the case. They end up having tons of representation behind the scenes. They have agents working on their behalf, connecting them with different people so they can have interesting guests or interesting contacts or interesting collaborations. You find that they have people that are constantly bringing them ideas and information with which to cover on their channel. People working with them, writing scripts and etc. Professionals cutting their videos, editing their videos. It just, the list went on and on and on. And I went, Jesus, that's bloody disappointing, because for the large part, I thought this was all, like all these YouTubers that I follow, some of them I followed when they had their follower accounts were like 10, 20,000. And I was like, oh, I like this person. This is really good. And then it's like anything else, you follow and you watch religiously, and then it gets a little bit stale, or maybe something else comes in. There's only so much capacity to watch, right? You can only watch so many people, and so one gets pushed aside for a while, and you forget about it, and then you come back maybe 6 months later, maybe a year, 2, 5 years, whatever, and you go, holy cow, this person's blown up. Now they have like 10 million subscribers. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And then you look back and you go, oh, gee, that's why. Once they hit like the 1 or 2 thousand people, 5,000 people, then they get all this. They go out and get all this support to help them build. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but not at all. I mean, I should have known better. That's probably what was going on. Not to say that there aren't some honest to goodness YouTubers out there that started with nothing, have nothing, like as far as backing, like no professional editors, no professional people setting up their studios, and like no directors, no producers, no nothing. It is still truly just them that have been around for a number of years. But you really see it in the numbers, though, because these people, you know, in my opinion, a lot of these ones are producing superior content, and after 5, 8, 10 years are still hovering in the 600,000, 700,000 range for subscribers, where other people started maybe 3, 4 years ago, and I don't think they're quite as, personal opinion, don't think they're quite as informational, as endearing, as entertaining, and they're 4, 5, 6 million. So, and they're getting like all the accolades and whatever. Doesn't matter. This was never meant to be a big thing. It's like I said, first and foremost, it's for my own personal benefit, I guess. So, one thing, a couple of things you'll notice, like I said, this is very low rent. I'm shooting this on my Samsung A14. So, yeah, um, just goes to show you don't necessarily need $1,000 camera. I know the audio sounds terrible. It's echoing probably really badly. The color's going fadey, inny, outy. But this is all I can afford right now. So that's all I've got. So I'd like to get something proper, with a lavalier or something, and or even like don't anybody cut that. A microphone is what I was saying. I better not see that as a meme anywhere. Jesus. I know whatever you put on the internet, people make disgusting memes out of them. And that's not a challenge, okay? That's not like, one of my favorite YouTubes, Angry Cops, he does that. He's like, okay, make a meme out of this. And sometimes he puts himself in that compromising position, and the things that people come up with are they're hilarious, but they're quite nasty. So don't do that. This isn't a challenge. But yeah, like I intend on getting a camera, not just the cheapest phone that I could afford, or the best phone I could afford, which also happened to be the cheapest phone. Funny how that worked out. Um, for the most part, unless it's something very, very serious, and even then, I don't know. But for the most part, I don't intend to script anything. I don't intend to cut anything or edit anything. My intention is to stand in front of the camera with a topic, discuss it, present my point of view, why I think I'm correct, and then let it rip. I don't want to. I don't want to get caught up in trying to make the perfect video. Oops, I made a grammatical error. I said the wrong word. I've already done that once. I said the completely opposite word of what I meant to say in one of my videos at a key point. I didn't reshoot it. I didn't edit it out. I just put a note below that said, obviously, I meant this instead of that. That's as far as I'm going to get, probably. I say probably because I'm not going to say I'm never going to do this or that, because as the conundrum goes, never say never, right? So I probably won't be doing any editing, and I probably won't ever be doing any scripting. So what you see is just what's coming off the top of my head. I don't do rehearsing. I don't stand in front of the camera and run through something like 100 times and then hit record. I just simply stand here. So um, that might sound like it might sound lazy to some people, but for the content that I want to produce, which is mostly point of view and opinion stuff and personal experience stuff on some, you know, uh, how you say, touchy subjects, I think it's more important to get what's coming off of here completely unfiltered, unedited, than it is to have a video where I'm constantly, you just see these, like, the guy's looking all over the place 5 times to say one sentence with 8 words. That's, I don't think that's going to be effective. So, like I say, for the most part, it's clean, unedited, and I will try to keep the swears out of it. Um, which is not reflective of real life at all, because most people that know me know that I have a very foul mouth. It comes from where I used to live when I grew up. It comes from working in heavy industry for decades. And it comes from being a punk when I was a kid that I never outgrew, I guess. I had a real adjustment when I moved to Metro Vancouver, because, and still to this day, all these years later, I still, if you were to put me in a lineup of 100 people and you were to ask the crowd which guy doesn't belong here, they would go, that guy right there. He didn't come from here. Which is ironic, because I did. I just left and grew up somewhere else and then came back. But yeah, I'll try to keep the swears out of it, because it's, like I say, I use it on a daily basis. I have a very bad foul mouth. I admit that. It's terrible. To this day, I still work on trying to cut it way back, but depending on the rant, it gets really bad. So, but for this kind of stuff, I don't think there's a place for it. It doesn't bring anything to it. So I'll definitely try to keep that. So that, I hope, gives a bit of an idea why I'm here, who I am, why I'm here, and what you can expect. And I did not expect this to go on for almost a half an hour. It was supposed to be a brief introduction and Ken, but here we are. So, like I said, it's what happens when you don't have a script and you don't edit. You get this. So, I hope that you will stick around, and or if this has been up for a while and things are starting to go pretty well, um, I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you get some enjoyment out of some of the stuff that I've created. All right.